Hello, everyone. My name is Aria Swarr, and I first got to know Windrider back, I think, in 2017 with a short film here. And now it is my incredible honor to get to speak with you all about your beautiful film. I've had the joy this week to really hear your heart for why you're doing this, and it's been really moving for me and humbling for me to just really see your passion. So I was wondering if we could start there with both of you, director and executive producer, and then VC as producer, and I know you all co-wrote as well. If you could just speak to, the inception of this project. How did you all connect, and what inspired the passion for this specific, very touching, moving film?
I'll start. I had previously done a film a few years prior on human trafficking, and so the topic of social justice, especially in concerning women, was already something that was on my mind. And then I was living in Spain, and then I moved back to the United States. And even though I had grown up with a lot of Native American community at different times in my life, I had never heard about missing and murdered Indigenous women. And so when I moved back to the States in 2019, it came on my radar, and I was shocked, and I said, how could I have never heard about this? And then I had the privilege to move to Montana for several months, and I felt like as soon as I got on the ground there, it was everywhere. It was in local papers. I had seen some of Jen's work around the town I was living in, and it just hit me. It coincided with the fact that I was a new mom, and I had read testimonies of mothers in the newspapers saying, we are invisible, nobody's talking about this. And so I immediately just started Googling in my town, who's here and what's happening, and that led me to Jen. And Jen was so gracious to dialogue with me, and of course my instinct was, well, we need to make a film because that reaches an audience, but I really wanted to work with an expert and someone who has lived it, and someone who could guide the process. So we took it very slowly, but that's initially how Jen and I connected about this.
I mean, she pretty much said it, but I mean, I think the biggest thing for me is that when Mikaela approached me, for our Indigenous population, this isn't just a film, and so making sure that she had the right heart and the right drive, and she does. I mean, she's just an inspiration, and I think just being able to talk about this issue in a very brief way that maybe sparks curiosity, that people want to know more and people want to be involved.
And Jen, so you started your own program around this. Could you inform us, for those of us that know very little about this, sadly, can you inform us more about this crisis of missing and murdered Indigenous women?
Sure. So murdered, missing Indigenous issues stem back to colonization. It stems back to just the beginning of time. Our people experience rates of violence at very high rates and are repeatedly reported missing or murdered. Murder is the third leading cause for our people. And so being able to really deep dive into this, I really got close to a family in Montana, Jermaine Charlo, who went missing June 16, 2018, and watching that whole process and the downfalls of the searches and the downfalls of all that went wrong in her case, I began trying to figure out what to do and started photographing Native people that could articulate why this issue was important, and with the red handprint on their face, and then just started putting billboards up through Montana and now into the United States. So the awareness is the first part, but it goes so much deeper than that.
Thank you. And those are the billboards that you saw that inspired you. Wow. Well, it's such an overwhelmingly tragic situation with all of these layers of what is causing this. And yet this is a very simple film in a way. You chose to take a slice of life, right? Like the slice is almost as short as the film, right? It's like one piece in an afternoon, and one emotional arc in a way. Can you speak Mikaela, to kind of this art of the short form, and why I think it's really courageous to make something simple in light of something so overwhelming. So can you speak to what gave you that courage and kind of your approach to short film making?
Yeah, I think that it was, a process. I think you start maybe with something longer and you whittle it back. And we really, as you were saying, it's a hard subject, and we wanted to keep it simple because there's enough there to sit with, and so I didn't want to go into too many other things because I felt like that was enough, and yet we still have a little bit of time to sit with our character, sit with Olivia in it. But I would say just, having made short films before, I think that sometimes less is more, and if you can get something across quickly and have an impact, maybe that's enough, And so especially with this subject, I didn't want to belabor it. I wanted us to sit with her, and but yeah, I just felt it was right for this particular story. So.
Well, I think you're very successful at that, and I think we can all, as many of us aspiring filmmakers, learn from that simplicity, the strength of that one choice and that one emotional reveal, that's really all you have to do in a short film, and you guys did that brilliantly. I mean, it hits you very hard. I was wondering if you could speak to the title that then we also see in the name on the license plate, and a little bit more as to the backstory there of why you chose that title.
Yeah, I'll share a little bit, and then Jen can go into it. So when I was living in Montana, there was these really high-profile cases of young girls that had gone missing, and one of them was Selena Not Afraid. And so it's unusual sometimes for us to see who aren't familiar with Native last names, but they're translated a lot of times directly into English. But that is a common last name, especially on the Crow Reservation in Montana. And so it was a way it felt symbolic to honor as far as the message of the resiliency of Native peoples, but then at the same time honoring this specific family, which Jen helped us to reach out to them and to get their, approval and have them be a part of it.
I mean, no, it's good. I mean, the family was very gracious in letting us use our last name, and I love the resiliency piece that it does speak, because one thing that our ancestors gave us was resiliency.
Well, that's amazing. And just knowing that, and that it's based on a very real situation, makes it all the more of a gut punch there. You also mentioned to me the other day just the significance of basketball, because it was kind of like, why this slice of life? You could choose so many moments that she might have had the same emotion, the same kind of breakdown in her grief and her confusion. Why this moment with basketball? What brought you to that?
Jen.
We love basketball on the reservation. Like, there's nothing that's shot when they're playing outside. That's pretty much what it is on the reservation. So basketball has always been something that brought us together, on the reservation, off the reservation, whether we lived on the reservation or urbanly. And it was something that gave a lot of hope and created that team atmosphere and togetherness. And so when she sent me the first script, I said, nope, it needs to have basketball in it. And so, and I felt bad because I know that they had to do a lot of work after that, but it's important in Indian country. So.
Okay, well, this has just been premiered in November, correct? And so we're among the first audiences. Is there anything we can be doing to support you and advocate with you that you would suggest to us today?
I mean, I have a website. It's www.mmiwproject.org, and so you can look up a lot of different things that I'm doing in Montana and how to get involved. And honestly, I mean, in the United States, we have 574 tribes. So it's possible, and more than possible, that wherever you live, reach out to your local tribe and see how you can help.
Thank you.
I wanted to say as well that Jen is doing this billboard project, and as she mentioned, and you can be a sponsor of those, and that puts a real person and their story makes it visible to an entire community. So that's a direct way to support Jen's work. And then one other thing I wanted to say is we focused on Montana because for the ratio of Native people to the entire population, it's very, the numbers are extremely high for the Native women that go missing. But this is an issue throughout the United States and Canada, and probably beyond. So I wanted to say that I was particularly impacted by these stories that I was seeing, but you don't have to look far to hear of these stories happening all over the country.
Well, thank you. We're going to open up for Q&A from the audience. All right, I see a hand right back here.
I just wanted to mention about the sound design and the sound mixing. I loved it. I was wondering what that had to go into the story, just because it felt like you were like really living in those moments, like with those characters.
Thank you. It was challenging. I find sound design to be challenging on films. We had to scrap the whole first design and start from scratch. There's sometimes people have different visions, and I ended up finding someone to work with that had a really wonderful, could really bring to life the place of the sense of place and being in Montana and the openness, and I really wanted that to come through. And so thank you for saying that. I think that it's something that it can almost be overlooked. It's like, oh, let's just get picture and oh, the sound people, well, they'll get it, they'll figure it out. But we have to love and respect our sound people, because what is a film without sound? So it adds so much to the world. So it was a long process, but it's worth it in the end. I encourage all the film students to invest in good sound people. We need them.
Another question. I see, can I go all the way to the back? The white shirt.
And I just wanted to ask, because there was a wonderful, really moving indie episodic series about MMIW last year that really moved my students. And of course, you have the popular side. You have Alaska Daily on a major network.
Yes.
And obviously, the more voices, the better. But what was interesting is conversations I had last year surrounding the episodic was that they weren't super happy about the more popular Alaska Daily, which is a bit flashy. And I mean, do you think that more popular, sort of big capitalist money-making studios that are jumping on the MMIW train, is that helpful? Do you think that that possibly hurts the cause? Is it the more the better? I'm curious.
Thank you for your question. I mean, I think any exposure is good, but honestly, your heart is what matters, and we can tell, So we can tell if it's for show or if it's you really want to help, And so we're very in tune to that. So it's just, I think anytime anybody wants to give exposure to MMIW, I would consult with an elder in a tribe.
I did want to say too that when we started out on this project, we were aware of those different films and TV series that are out there, but many of them take a true crime approach or a true crime genre. And what marked me by being in Montana, knowing Jen and the resources that she directed me to, was realizing that not only are this affects very young women, but also mothers and women of all ages, and so many of them leave behind children, and that's really what struck me, just thinking about these families that are left behind with this gaping hole, and they don't get to mourn these people. They don't know if they will ever come home, and so I think that we haven't seen that in a film specifically, and I wanted to honor those. We wanted to honor those families, and so to your question, yes, there are great projects that give exposure, but I think this was a missing piece. We thought this was a missing piece that needed to be told.
Any other questions? Hand here in the middle.
I really liked the acting, and particularly the scene with when she was crying. It looked really real, and I was wondering, how if you let the girl kind of just do her thing and just feel it out, or if you kind of put her in told her to think a certain way. I was just wondering how that process went, like how you directed her acting and all that.
Thank you for that question. We had Jay Sean St. John. She is a wonderful actress, and I think we talked about the scene, we blocked it, she knew the intent, she knew what we were going for, and then I let her, do her thing because she's an actress, and I needed to give her space to find that moment. It's not always easy, especially something so emotional, and she's an actress, but she's lived many of these things in her own life and her parents and everything that Father Sands is talking about. So it didn't take, she didn't have to go too far. And so that made this entire project just so much more real for all of us. It was a very emotional shoot, especially those scenes. And so we really just tried to create a space for her and a supportive place for her. But no, she's wonderful, and it's her.
And I just want to say, it's hard for me to watch. It's hard for us to watch that scene because when we were there filming, she's crying for all of our people, and it's hard to even talk about because it's our people are dying.
We want to thank you for having the courage in the midst of such tragedy, to give voice to this invisible crisis, and to make it more known. Thank you for doing that with the courage. It also has the courage to be simple in a powerful way, because that speaks so loud. So we just want to thank you for your courage and the courage of your whole team.
Thank you.